Thank you, Father, for providing the context to set the agenda properly. There is a need for us to do two things clearly. First being the title of our conversation in itself appeared defective. When you say ritual killings, the operative word now is the ritual. But if you say killings for ritual, there is a need for us to... It helps you to bring out clearly the deviant character and nature of what we are dealing with. The misdemeanor and the fact that there is a crime and criminality involved. When you look at the phrase ritual, it means that you are performing some rites. And those rites means that you belong to something. And if you do belong to something, what exactly do you belong to, or where do you belong to? What are the expectations of those society or cults and other groupings that you are dealing with? If you truly come from a family that is expected to be a representation of what a family ought to be, because that's the agenda Father was trying to project clearly. A man who is responsible ab initio will say clearly, I have the responsibility to cater for the mother of this child, and as such that I am responsible for the pregnancy, I do the needful. When you move from there, the value system that you are operating with in that family will obviously condition the attitudinal and behavioral dynamics of the individuals that we are dealing with. The moment that is defective, I will want to pick from the Bible. Psalm 51, the psalmist said, in iniquity did my mother conceive me. Just to underscore and provide a scriptural basis for what Father said earlier on. If the parent clearly appreciated the fact that a mother entered into conception in a sinful state, it is likely that that will lead to an aberration. But what we are now interested in dealing with is to take a look at when killings occur. Killings are crimes and acts of criminality. Over the years, when what we are referring to as ritual killings have occurred, they have not been properly investigated, prosecuted, sanctioned, so that you can activate deterrence. I'll give a good example, taking my cue from what was shown to us in the video clip. That is a footage that set the agenda for today. We're dealing with a particular clause of saying that a lady was killed. By virtue of chapter 20, individuals killing that individual.
Okay.
And for that, it's so easy to investigate that. We already have the facts. The moment you look at the dynamics of their involvement in using somebody's body part, there are sanctions expected. And as such, if only the law enforcement and security agents had done the needful, these are very simple, straightforward prosecutorial issues to deal with. That we could
inability to deal with it procedurally by the security agencies removes deterrence. Is that what you're saying?
It removes deterrence. And if we do not investigate early enough, you'll discover that you contaminate the crime scene. The moment crime scene is contaminated, subsequent investigations are messed up.
Okay.
A good example, again, on one of those cases, a grave had been dug inside a room that they wanted to use to bury. Very simply, based on Chapter 23 of the Criminal Code, the issue of burial in homes is prohibited by law.
So
that
we
is
are not
enough.
enforcing it.
It's so easy for you to have tried on that note and insist that by the time you finish the whole gamut of investigations, the sanction for burying in a home contrary to law will only serve as not a concurrent but a consequential punishment. Those are the issues that we need to begin to...
There. Let's go to Chief Peter Dochie for further clarifications on the basis, the motivational factors for this ugly vice that we are seeing. Yeah, if you can hear me, Chief, the motivational factors and perhaps a little bit on the historical trajectory of the evolution of all this.
Am I on?
Yeah, you are on. We can hear you.
Because the lights just went up.
We can see you and we can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you very much. I think what we're thinking about here is how to contain these ritual killings, because we know that they exist. I belong to the movie industry, and when we decide to capture what goes on in society, is to ensure that we warn people against such things. We reflect the society, and what we put out is supposed to be didactic. Let people learn from it. Ritual killings have been going on, but recently they've been intensified. Why? Because somehow we have created a climate that encourages ritual killings. We have given the circumstances, we have activated the circumstances that have encouraged ritual killings. I tell you the truth, being a Nigerian in itself is a very big challenge. It's a full-time job being a Nigerian. The moment you are born, you are exposed to a few things you are supposed to enjoy that you don't have. For example, we've been independent in 1960. We've not been able to supply light, ordinary light, which is energy to our people. We have fuel, not been able to use it properly. We've not been able to activate whatever it is that we have that you produce well for us, and that now spread them out, and then intensify a campaign for people to learn how to appreciate the sanctity of human life. I listened to the Reverend Father when he was talking, and I was very, very impressed. You know, if you let people know that one, it is not just a sin, but a crime to kill a fellow human being, and that you are most likely to end up in hell, no matter how merciful you think God is, I think you're going to think twice before you engage in any such ritual killing. Again, why do people decide on ritual killings? I sincerely wish we had on this panel somebody who is a member that can tell us what you benefit when you sell human parts or when you get human parts. There's a possibility that when you identify with any sect that promotes ritual killings, you make money. There's a possibility that it exists, it works. And I think this is why a lot of people go to involve themselves with rituals that involve killing fellow human beings. Now, let us ask ourselves, what makes this absolutely necessary? A lot of human beings who are very, very brilliant in our society are not gainfully employed. I started by saying that we have been independent since 1960. We've not been able to supply light. Light is the energy. There are so many people who can engage themselves gainfully if only they had light. You can learn to be a cobbler, you can learn to be a tailor, you can be a barber, so many different professions you can engage in if only you had life. We don't have. And people are bound to survive. The way I look at it, I think it's survivalism, unfortunately, of the worst order. People go to the extremes to ensure that they survive. Come to think of it, it's so sordid going to kill a human being, cut off his head. Come on, think about it, right? What can be so cruel, so wicked? And yet, you look at the young people who engage in this, who money wherever there's an occasion, they are their role models. They want to be like these people. Let us ask ourselves, these individuals who spray money carelessly, how did they make the money? Experience has taught me that if you struggle hard to make money, you cannot spend it that way. It's like drinking. If you struggle hard to buy yourself a bottle of beer, there is no way you can finish it in a hurry. It is only when people buy beer for you that you develop an appetite for it, and then you keep drinking. How do these young men make their money, and why do they seem to be role models to other individuals who now go in and enroll? That is what we should ask ourselves. I sincerely wish, quite honestly, that we had somebody who had experienced the gains of ritual killings within this program, so that the person can say, well, they won't accept to come. So the person say, this is what you benefit if you kill a fellow human being or you donate his heart. I know that most people, if you belong to a cause, right, you are supposed to be making donations, particularly from your family members. In the first place, you will not have your own children. If you do, and you decide to identify with the cause, you'll be sacrificing those children. And there's a possibility that if you identify, the money comes. If the money were not coming in, people will not be rushing in to be part of ritual killings. So I suspect, right, that number one, people who are doing this are those who've been initiated by others. But if we have local police and then we intensify campaign against this, there's a possibility that we could end. It might take some time, but I think we could end it. The point is, we have not started trying. This is my own contribution. If we start trying, I think we can succeed. Okay.
You've raised fundamental issues there, but I think we'll go on a break. And when we come back from the break, we'll try to interrogate those issues more. Let's quickly take a break. And don't forget that you can still join us online, AIT_online.
More than ever before, Nigerians wake up to stories of gruesome ritual killings. The phenomenon of getting rich quick is becoming shamefully worrisome and turning our youth to a wasted generation. This generation of youths resort to ritual killings for illusionary sudden wealth. Mostly involved are those in advanced fee fraud, illicit drug peddlers, and layabouts that exhibit no sign of humanity and sanctity of life. Africa Independent Television, concerned with this increasing societal evil, is inviting you to a town hall meeting to examine the causes, impact, and suggest how to end this malaise. A panel of experts from diverse backgrounds, such as veteran broadcaster and actor Chief Pete Edochie, Professor of African Christian Theology Father Cornelius Afebu Omonokwa, Professor of Islamic Studies Mustafa Ismail, and a host of others will provide insights to this growing trend. Do join us on Thursday, March 24, 2022 from 10 a.m. to 12 noon as we search for solutions to this societal problem. Africa Independent Television, sharing the African experience.
Thank you so much for staying with us. It's AIT Town Hall Forum on ending ritual killings, practices. From what we learned, your father was an Ifa priest and all that. Now, the question is, how authentic ritual killing actually provides the benefits, such as wealth, fame, and all that? In other words, does it really work?
Actually provides the benefits. Well, killing a woman. The mother was really what? Actually, tonight, the mother was really what? Actually, tonight,
I think that there's some interference. The TV set has to be switched off. You have to rely on the audio from your device. Turn off completely the audio from the TV set. Is interfering with the connections. You can go ahead now, Prof.
The audio from the citizens interfering with the connections. You can go ahead now.
Some problems there.
Yes.
They have to deal with that. They have to turn off the.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think while we await Prof to get that connection, let's hear from Okpeyemi here as a young person.
Yes.
You know, what goes on. What do you think are the kind of conversations really that go on among young people? In that report that gave us a background to this discussion, our reporter did allude there that majority of the victims are women, are young girls. So what goes on really? What's your view?
I think I'll start where Chief Peter Duche stopped. And it was saying that people who do these things don't come out to say these things really worked. So we have to go back. I think for us to have the context, we have to go back to the background and say that there's a deep-seated belief system that ritual killing is effective. And if we don't counter this, we will keep on having a resurgence of these issues.
Recruits.
More and more recruits, because people are not coming out to say this person did this and it didn't work, so desist from doing it. We have so many people say, okay, have you tried this? Have you tried? Nobody's coming out to say that people who have tried it, it didn't work for them. So why should more people venture into these things? And even among the well-educated people are not questioning. People are not questioning why this ritual killings is on the rise. Well-educated people, clerics, people who are Christians, people who are Muslims, believe that mixing a portion of vitals of human body will suddenly result into fame, fortune, or success. And we have this growing belief that is going uncounted. And I feel that as a young person, we have grown into this belief system too. That, oh, this person did rituals, that's why he's having money all of a sudden.
So it's gaining grounds actually.
Yes, it is. People have the. Can I ask you, do you believe that it actually works? As a person, as an educated person, do you believe that ritual killings actually work? Because we've had these conversations online and people say that, people come and say, mixing the portion of human body does not give wealth. And people will say, no, don't come and say that. We have seen people actually get wealthy overnight.
I've run into that problem. I've had this conversation, and they believe, they have this tenacious belief that it works.
Yes.
And like you said, that's where the problem lies, because as much as they believe, the tendency to go into it will be higher.
The deep-seated belief system that we as a people believe that ritual killing, or like Professor said, killings for rituals actually work. And like she said, as a woman, having the last one of the BRT, the one before that, the lady who went seeking for job, that she was kidnapped.
Examples.
So many examples of women, and we think we're becoming afraid to even walk in the night when it's getting dark. You're watching around you. You can't even be comfortable in your own country. So I think the conversation should be first. People are calling on orientation agency to come out and orientate people, countering this allegation or countering this idea or this concept of killing for ritual, saying that this thing doesn't work until we'll deal with this issue, until we counter this belief system. I think it might just be a continuous occurrence.
I don't know whether we have Professor Fatomi Lola back because there's a crucial question we want him to answer. We'll have him back now. Prof, now, thank you so much for staying with us. To what extent do ritual killings work?
We'll have him back now. Prof, now, thank you so much for staying with us.
I think the audio interference is still there. The audio from the TV sets interfering. But let's quickly cross over to Kano to meet up with Professor Mustafa Ismail, Executive Director, Center for Human Rights in Islam and Professor of Islamic Studies. Maybe you can provide further perspectives from the Islamic angle, the prevalence, the history, and whether it works.
You can provide further perspectives from the prevalence, whether it works.
There's a problem with the audio here.
Okay, I think for Prof, you would likely also need to turn down the volume of your TV set and rely on the earpiece that is in your ear for you to hear the question and also respond to us. I hope we also have Husseini Abdu on Zoom, the country director at Care Internet. Okay, the director says he's not. So we'll have to come back to our guest in the studio. Prof, I saw you also penciling down some things. What have you been writing down, especially from what we have gathered? When Chief Peter Edochie was speaking, he said he comes from the movie industry. And the movie industry too has been blamed or partly blamed for, heightening this in the sense that, okay, why would you be showing ritual killings? I remember those days, Living in Bondage movie, our friend acted in it and all of that. Or who do you want to bring? He was in the court and he called his wife, I want to sacrifice my wife and all of that. But we'll come to that. He's raised a vital point, which I think we'll come to, though he said that the movie industry also mirrors the society, what's happening in the society. What have you got to say about all this?
I want to thank Chief Peter Edochie for bringing the right perspectives onto the table. And I want to thank God that we're having this conversation so that we can have a way forward and solve this challenging dynamics that is already pushing us in a direction that we do not want to go to. I listened to Opeyemi attempt answering the question of how come the female have become the epicenter of the number of victims that we've dealt with over the years. It is clear that there is a counterculture. Chief Edochie drew our attention to the dynamics of our nation building, which has been defective and has not been productive and citizen-centered and focused and empowering. If you have governance services failure, the way we've been having it, there is a tendency for people to be seeking comfort. And in the midst of seeking comfort, there is a counterculture that emerges. And often the counterculture will have elements of crimes and criminalities that are masked in a different language and presented to the society in very sweet and sugar-coated language. I'll give you a good example. All these crimes and criminalities were labeled either Yahoo Plus without we focusing on the real issues. One of the major elements that we dealt with initially when Yahoo Plus was gaining ground was the fact that female underwear were being stolen off the lines when they put them out there for laundry. When you take something that does not belong to you, that is theft. If you've committed the crime of theft, you have sanctions within the legal framework that ought to have been applicable. And if it had been applicable or applied, and those people were found guilty and they were prosecuted based on that law and punished, subsequently nobody will commit such crimes. Painfully, when pants were disappearing, everybody felt it was an okay thing. But you now ask yourself, how come women are the victims? We're having a situation where the poverty indicators in the Nigerian state have become too high, and we are not addressing the issues. Now, a number of the ladies that are now exposed are actually seeking for comfort for themselves. And in the midst of seeking comfort for themselves, they end up exposing themselves to these young men. My own understanding, and I do not want to delve into the issues that our Prof from Ife will speak onto, I believe that it is likely that some of the people that are encouraging others to participate are deliberately recruiting people and rushing them to go to hell. They want to check if they are bold enough, if they commit a crime, and they want to have a lane on them that they can hold them accountable that they were guilty of committing a crime. Because the moment you kill somebody, you have run foul of all religious precepts, be it the African traditional religion, the Christianity, or Muslim Islamic injunctions. That is my own understanding. So the only way out is for us to emphasize that these killings are criminal in nature, they are crimes, and homicidal investigation ought to apply. And if you do apply homicidal investigation and you treat it as murder in the first instance, they are entitled to life imprisonment. When you look at it from the angle of the law, some of the things that they do, 5 years imprisonment for using a charm to harm, is enough. So what we need
enough deterrence.
Is enough deterrence. So what we need to achieve,
that people don't even know,
that we need to ensure that chapters 20, 23 of the criminal code, which is applicable in some of these instances, are now applied even with those of chapter 53. So that the police will stop messing up and saying it's a ritual matter. When they pick them up, first and foremost,
is a crime first before ritual or whatever?
It is a crime.
Let's get back to...
And then you now be able to investigate and now profile the people.
Professor Fatou Milola is ready now. Prof, let's get your perspective here. How authentic are ritual killings? Can you hear me, Prof? So I wanted you to wade in from the angle of whether it serves the purpose for those for which those that go into it end up doing it. Okay, we are still having problems. I don't know whether Professor Mustafa Ismail, his audio problem would have been sorted. Professor Ismail wanted an Islamic perspective to this because it's a nationwide problem that cut across different divides. Professor Ismail, can you hear me?
Prof, can you unmute your audio?
Unmute yourself first, please. Prof, you have to press the unmute button on your device.
Okay, I think I can hear. Is it Professor the Prof from Ile-Ife speaking, director? Because I can hear, I can hear a response there. Yes, Prof.
Yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I think every settlement is very necessary in this country because seeing another person to make money or to do otherwise is not very good in the presence of God and human beings. So, we can find a way of stopping it, ending it, and how do you stop it? We have security people in the country who can affect us in tracing and finding out those people who are stealing people to me. It's not good. Human beings like you that is stealing the car to enjoy, to live, to make money. So I personally think that particular does not support initial feeling, and I want it ended. I want it stopped.
Now, many young people have the belief that if you engage in ritual killing, you get rich. Does it really work out that way? Does it provide wealth?
Young people that are involved in ritual killing, something may lead them to ritual killing. Because if I live well, another people are not living well. You know, judges enter the mind of those who are affected. So if you want to stop ritual killing, you find a way of making majority to enjoy. Not that everybody will become rich, but live a comfortable life. Somebody who is comfortable, you not see, you not use empire to get money. Because in the country today, you say, unemployment is one of the biggest reasons that Lord is good to young people to look at it. Some people are graduates, some people from higher institutions, some people from colleges. We have millions of them living about. They don't have any job. And they want to live like other people. Such happiness that means the youth, they are going the ritual killing society.
Okay. From what Prof is saying, is there a society such as ritual killing society? Because most young people or most people involved or want to do that or want to involve themselves in killings for rituals, like Prof has said, must they be in a cult, a ritual killing society? Are there things like that?
I'm telling you simply. Can you repeat the question?
Okay. Prof, I'm asking, from what you said, are there societies in the country, however, whether they are cults or whatever, inferring from what you said, are there societies that are involved in ritual killings, that these people that are involved get membership into those societies?
Our society, structure of our society, I mean, we in our culture, is not supposed to ritual killing. It's forbidden.
Okay.
Far away the times of our forefathers that we used to hear ritual killing. And our forefathers, they said, the star is a mercy. And
okay.
It's not good. It's not a good practice before God Almighty.
Okay.
So you cannot encourage ritual killing among the young people.
Okay, thank you, Prof, for that perspective. Let's go over to Professor Mustafa. And Amechi did ask you earlier, what is the Islamic perspective to all of this? Because we've seen both Christians, those even in traditional religion, or Muslims being victims of this. So what's the Islamic perspective to all of this? And also take it from where Father stopped in terms of the values. Prof, please, I will need you to unmute yourself. We can't hear you. Prof, press the unmute button there on Zoom so that we can hear you.
We've done so. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Loud and clear.
Okay. Now, the task before me is to give an Islamic perspective on ritual killings. Islam has a position on that. First, let me define what is ritual killings, or what is cultism. We have to define and know the characteristics of such kind of an organization, the punishment, and then the causes. We define cultism as a religion or religious sect generally considered to be extremist or false, with its followers often living in unconventional manner and ways under the guidance of an authoritarian and charismatic leader. Another definition for a cult is a small group of people who have extreme religious beliefs and who are not part of any established religion, the beliefs of which are considered to be, by most people, to be strange and dangerous. Lastly, another definition for the cult or cultism, extremism. Look at now the characteristics as we can see from the definition I have so far mentioned. They have extremism. This is one of their characteristics. Falsehood. Verse 85, chapter 17, verse 33. All these verses prohibit the formation of such kind of association. Secondly, I want us to understand that acquiring wealth and riches by lawful means is not only allowed but enjoined in Islam. In several Quranic verses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enjoins the exploitation of resources, treasures He deposited for us in the earth, the sea, and the heavens. And also, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala encourages us to select a harmless means of acquiring wealth.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof. If you can hear us, Prof, if you can hear us, we'll come back to you when we return from the break and investigate some of the things which you've said. And I think the second half, Amechi, will be when we come back, in terms of, because when you see most of these people, when they get caught by the police, either red-handed or even with those human parts in the bag, they get to say, oh, I did not have a job, was for
socio-economic pressures.
So we would interrogate killings for rituals as a disguise for wealth-making purposes. But yes,
we'll spend time on solutions also. And the report that we are going to see now perhaps will provide clarifications on why females are targeted. Very interesting.
Very disturbing, Amici. All right, let's quickly take this. We'll return.
Just as the Gateway State was still grappling with the news of Sophia Kennedy's murder, the people were again thrown into shock over reports of the gruesome murder of another 22-year-old girl, Ifeoluwa Alice Oga. Number 72 MKO Abiola Way, Leme, Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, is the address where the headless body of Ife, as she was fondly called, was discovered on February 13, 2022 by neighbors led by the district head of the community, Moshood Ogunwolo. 6 days earlier, Ifeoluwa had been reported missing by her family.
She was missed at home since on the 3rd of February. So we start looking for her, searching for her, even though I reported at police station, Avegbe division. So later on, I told people that if you're able to find her, so I distribute her picture around. For people, I even posted her on Facebook and WhatsApp as well.
Ife was lured by her friend Adejumoke Thomas, a self-acclaimed Yoruba actress, to pay her a visit when the unfortunate incident happened. The district head also narrated how the live-in couple were apprehended and handed over to the police.
When we get there, we saw the husband and wife that implicated. We saw one bucket, plastic drum like this, and yes, we took him aside. I called the Nigerian police.
We spoke with Maruf, right? Adejumoke was not forthcoming. A drama ensued between the couple.
As soon as we killed the lady, we sat her up straight and cut off her head. All the blood was inside the basin. She was the one that went to wash it away into the toilet, and you said you don't know anything about it.
By a BRT bus driver, Andrew Nice, in Lagos State in March 2022. Bami says remains were found 7 days after her disappearance. Oftentimes, suspects blame the heinous crimes of ritual killings on witch doctors, who usually request for human parts to perform the magic money potions.
We use the body parts with alcohol and milk and begin to heat the tummy. As they do that, and they drink the mixture, they will call the name of the child and ask the child to get up and go and bring a certain amount. He said the person doing the ritual would then go to the bathroom and have a bath with a prepared soap mixture. He said before the person returns from the bathroom, the child will be back with the amount of money requested.
From Abeokuta, we took a round trip to some witch doctors in some parts of the country. Our aim was to find out the mindset of alleged perpetrators.
Nollywood has made these children to believe that they will just give you one small box or something you put inside the wardrobe, and you open the wardrobe in the morning, there is money. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. You put it in the wardrobe, you are not doing any work, you are not selling the least oranges, sachet water and all that, and you expect to open the wardrobe in the morning and like
human ritual is real, as I believe or as I know. Likewise, animal ritual, when you use it to prepare charm, it can be make the person attract money for what somebody is doing.
It's real, but I've never tried it. I don't know how
to do. What do you do with your own?
I do with what I do with my own is animal. those that come for it are young boys that some are into Yahoo. They believe that that is the easiest way for them to get money.
We were curious to know why most victims of ritual killings for money are female. The response from this witch doctor was frightening.
Human spirit, you know that it's like tree where they bear fruit. You see man fruit, you no go bear anything. 100 years. So that one that is bearing fruit, if you use it onto your compound, you'll be happy. So the woman spirit is higher to work those bad rituals than man.
Thank you so much for staying with us. You saw that report there, trying to provide further insights and to answer very pertinent questions who, of course, that will also guide our deliberations here on the town hall, all aimed at finding an end to prevalence of ritual killings in Nigeria. We assembled a panel of experts from diverse backgrounds to provide insights, and hopefully in the second part, as we go into it now, we'll be looking at solutions. We have a number of tweets, the Twitter feed on the screen at AIT_online. We are processing them and we expect more. Want your questions and comments on this very disturbing trend. Let's see.
I think we should just go straight into it. Okay, Chief Pete Edochie is still with us, and quite a whole lot has been raised. Chief Edochie is still with us. In one of those, one of the respondents in that report actually said that Nollywood is to be blamed for it. What is your response? I know that you have actually alluded to the fact that Nollywood mirrors the society, but do you think that Nollywood or the film industry or the movie industry, as it were, or even theater, has been able to elevate that discussion that if you do rituals, you're going to make money from it? Prof, can you hear me? Okay, Chief, can you hear me rather? Okay, it seems that Chief Edochie is not, can't
okay, let's come to Professor Father here in the studio. The issue of miracles. There's this belief that it works, that God can from nowhere using his divine powers create wealth that one didn't work for. When you look at the other part of it, what drives these ritual killings, that sudden wealth, is it? Can one really place it side by side, or are there different forms to it?
Well, first and foremost, what is miracle? We need to define the word miracle. Is miracle just somebody is dead, I say stand up, and the person will just get up? And when you want to talk about miracle, you talk of faith. And there are two sides of, when you want to talk about faith, is what they call fiducial faith. Fiducial faith is when you believe that if I plant corn on a concrete cement, I'll put water, it will grow. That one you just talk about handwork. Then you talk about faith that depends on God. You know, the Bible says, God grants success to the work of my hands.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
That's what the Bible says. Yes. God grants success to the work of my hands. In the Old Testament, there's what they call wisdom literature. This wisdom literature, you have the book of Proverbs, you have wisdom, you have Kohelet, you have Sirach, and you know, these were ways the sages, the elders of the Israeli trained their children the value of hard work, the value of respect, the value of life, the dignity to life, and how you can work to earn a living. And to show us that there's nothing like miraculous riches. Jesus Christ was brought up by a carpenter, and he worked with the father. And said Paul would tell us that, look, he did not just jump into preaching. He was a tent maker. He earned his living. He did not even depend on factory, that the money you drop in there. In the same way, because whenever I'm talking about Christianity and the Bible, I always like to relate it to African tradition. In our tradition, there is a passage of the Bible here that I want, is a Bible, but people believe in it. He said, train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. Proverbs 22 verse 6. To train, how did our people train up children? From the beginning, we're talking of Nollywood just now. Nollywood is doing what our elders have stopped doing. How did you grow up? There's what they call the moonlight stories. The elders gather us about under the moon. They tell us stories that can scare you away from committing crime. And these stories gives you a kind of context, what I'll call African metaphysics. What is African metaphysics? Cause and effect. The African believe that you should do bad, God will reward you. You should do evil, evil will follow you. Evil.
That's if you do bad.
If you do good, if you do bad,
yes,
bad will follow you.
Yes.
If you do good, good will follow you.
Absolutely.
And again, the fate of our ancestors was such that, like this ritual killing we are doing, if you kill, there is a repercussion, cause and effect. And even if you kill by mistake, in my village, Irekpa Uzarwe, Etsako West, that I come from, even to today, if you kill by, even by motor accident, you have to do a cleansing, because they believe that that person you kill, the spirit, the ghost can hurt you. So we call it Okyugwe. You and your age mate will go and sleep in the market square, the village square, for 7 days for cleansing.
We call it Ibuochu in my place.
In your place.
You have to remediate some processes.
If our people could do that kind of penance for accidental killing, you know. So, and again, our people were brought up to fear God. And how did our people reach God? They reached God through the ancestors, through the deities. Let me just shock you a little. There was a pastor, a Pentecostal pastor. His money was stolen. He has cursed and cursed and he has been saying, I will use Bible to nothing. So one day, this happened in Benin City. But he said, well, we have tried Oyibo, we have tried Christianity. He came to the church with Ogu, with Oloku. He said, who stole my money? Ogu, before he would say Ogu, he said, I beg, let me take the money. You could see that fear. So now, what am I trying to promote traditional religion? No. We need to know that, you see, this is why if somebody want to colonize you, they want to make you a slave, the first thing they will do to you is to change your name. You know, like when the Hutus wanted to destroy the Tutsis, they changed their name to cockroaches. When Nigeria wanted to fight Biafra, they called them Nyamili. You get it now? So we have to trace where we missed the point. From
you have to give a dog a bad name before you kill it.
So we have to trace back. Where did we miss it? Our children can no longer speak our language.
Okay, so Prof, look at from where you're landing now, and see if others can actually.
Let me just round up.
Okay.
So that I will not be buried.
So it needs to lay the difference because both are belief systems.
So what I'm trying to say now is that we need to, like I said before, to stop this ritual killing. Let us know. Because these things are not working. We'll talk about that before. Let the society know. Let the society do a kind of aggiornamento. We need a kind of national repentance. Let us stop giving credit to thieves. Let us stop giving entertainment to thieves and crowning them chiefs.
Okay.
So otherwise, we are just, the Bible is against it, and the tradition is against it.
All right, thank you, Father. Over to you, Chief Edochie, with a question that I asked earlier, with also what Father here has said. One of the witch doctors in that report, they say Nollywood is to be blamed for it. What's your response to that? One of the witch doctors in that report say Nollywood is to be blamed for it.
Thank you, Nancy. You see, I was raised in the North, and whenever we went to watch movies featuring actors like John Wayne, Dean Martin, Robert Mitchum, these are guys who were cowboys. We would always see them rolling something and smoking it. My friends always told me then that these people were smoking marijuana, and I said, no, what they are smoking is tobacco. It's not marijuana. But they convinced themselves that they were smoking marijuana. So what did they do? They hit marijuana with such passion, and it destroyed all of them. Yeah, they were friends of mine. I alone survived. I wasn't smoking it with them because I knew it was tobacco. Now, why am I using this example? I said it before, I say it again. We mirror society. Whatever we put out is supposed to be didactic. At the end of each product, there could be a moral. We are telling you that this is what happens in society. By the way, the money that we spray in our production is not real money. You are now compelling me to give it away. It is not real money, right? But you see, because you're beginning to suspect that Nollywood is helping to promote ritual killings, I am now bound to let out this secret. I'm not happy about it. Anyway, I come back to what the Reverend Father said. You know, as an individual, I don't believe that you can get money through rituals. I don't. I'm a Catholic, a Marian Catholic, a very serious one. Whenever I have a problem, I take my chaplet. That was the only thing that accompanied me from the north to the south during the crisis. I never came back with any other thing. So I don't joke with it. Now, there are many houses we shoot our films in, particularly in Delta State. Mighty houses, wonderful, excellent buildings, architecturally excellent. But we don't see anybody inside. And what we are being told is that those who own those houses make their money in some devious ways, and so they cannot live in those houses. I don't know what that means, but I'm telling you the honest truth. I haven't seen an individual who has come out to say, Pete, I conducted so and so ritual and I made a lot of money. I haven't seen. All I know is that you give me a script and I interpret it. I don't live in the expression, man of God. This is where all this nonsense starts, You are told that there is this very, very strong pastor, he can do this, he speaks in tongues. If you speak in tongues and people don't understand you, are not communicating for a start. It's in the Bible. There must be somebody to translate what you are saying so others will understand. But you see, our people like to be mystified by what they don't understand. So the more you mystify them, the more they believe in you. Now, you speak in tongues, you can perform miracles, they are flocking to you. This is how it all started. Then from there, you are introduced to other characters who have little or nothing to do with the Bible, but can conduct rituals which they believe can give you money, right? Nollywood is not promoting rituals at all. Nollywood is x-raying what happens in society and then warning you against involvement in such things. Look at how all those who are involved in rituals, how they end up. I want you to bear that in mind. How do they end up in those movies, right? People who are light-headed, people who are faggot-minded, they see these things and they think the best thing to do is not to work hard, but go kill individuals so you can make money. For me, it doesn't make sense and it does not work. But again, let's move away slightly from what we're saying. If we create circumstances that will involve individuals meaningfully, gainfully, I don't think they'll be going out to go and kill other human beings, right? There was a time we said, okay, let us resuscitate our railways. Oh, by the way, Amaechi, your age mate who did it. He cut off the entire southeast, making it impossible for young men to be gainfully employed by the railways in their process of resuscitation. Quote me. When we asked Amaechi, what did he say? Oh, the next time around, which are involved, it didn't make much sense. So you see, if you create impossible circumstances for people, they are bound to go astray. Ordinarily, there is something called the law of individual dualism. Whenever I see something that is good, juxtaposed is something bad. In the average individual, you have both good and bad. If you're exposed to circumstances that challenge you, you choose towards the left. That's the bad, right? But if you think that the circumstances are so that you can control and acquire some mastery over, you go toward the right. This is what normally happens. So I am defending Nollywood. Nollywood does not in any way promote ritual killings or encourage people. Because Nollywood is not a philanthropic organization, people do films that sell. If you do films now that involve only Reverend Fathers and Reverend Sisters, the films will not sell. People want something to challenge their imagination. So they say, okay, you are broke. Go and meet this person. Let him tell you how he made money. You go to that person, you wind up being a ritualist.
We'll have to thank you.
Then they will tell you.
We'll come back to you, Chief. We'll come back to you in a while. Because when we come back, we want to find out how we can use Nollywood to also deal with the problem. But let's go to Juliet Otto, the clinical psychologist. In terms of solutions now, a lot have been put on the table already. Good upbringing, good strong moral foundation. From your end, from your side, what can we do more, especially at the early stages, at the formative stages, in terms of psychology, psychiatry, and all that? Okay, she's still unsettled there, but I think she got the question that she will settle down and get back to deal with the problem. Employing psychology and Okay, the question is, we're on solutions now. From your industry, from your sector, what could be done? The other panelists here have spoken of laying the right moral foundation and all that. What can we get from your end?
Okay, first and foremost, I think parents, like Doche and my Reverend Father, and what Catholic too, has said, sometimes our family dynamic is of utmost importance. Some families, they've embraced, my friend's children are doing well, not actually looking at, what is this person actually into? So I think family dynamics should first and foremost be amended. People should speak to parents, or those siblings, because this comparison, this rivalry among siblings, among cousins, among neighbors, I would think is one of the reasons why there is this surge in this ritual killings among adolescents. Because let's take an example. I had some patients a few weeks ago, confidentiality, I wouldn't mention their name. He was into Yahoo Plus. Initially, he was into Yahoo. He said he wasn't making money. He was making, the highest money he made was like $2,000. So someone said, okay, why not do Yahoo Plus? The parents in quotes are religious people. So he didn't alert the parents, but he went into Yahoo Plus, but he became psychotic because he was not using substance. There is a comorbidity with those persons into ritual killings and substance use. Because ordinarily, with someone who is not into substance use, it's difficult for the person to actually verge into rituals because it's a high level of mentality. So he said, the parents were like, this is your friends, they're doing well. They didn't even know what the friends they're into, but probably because they're using good drugs. And he felt a bit challenged that you're a graduate or you're not doing anything. He was doing Yahoo on his own. But when the pressure became too much, he asked to go to Ghana. His friends felt like, okay, if you go to Ghana, you make more money. When he got to Ghana, he was introduced to interest. But he didn't want to disclose who he eventually used. And he did and bought the parents he had. So it's actually exposed people to lots of things, risky behavior, substance use, even some other mental condition, because of the use of substances, you have to be exposed to bipolar disorder, becoming mania, and all that. Some of them become the first they have the first symptoms. because there could be some regretful thoughts. So I think for the church, the religious background, the cultural background, I think people should begin to talk about what do we do to eliminate all of those competitive behaviors among our children. Let's begin to take the right morals into them. Let's begin to tell them things that are right. Like, let's begin to embrace technology. Because with the emergence of technology in Nigeria, lots of people are making money. So why look into Yahoo? Why look into ritual killing? Because, like they said, Yahoo is not just staying. When you go add it up to Yahoo Plus, that you make so much money. So family dynamic is very important. Our families, parents, other people, we should begin to talk about it. We should begin to talk about these things to predispose to a lot of health issues, especially mental health.
Okay.
You need to use substance. Because if you're not using substance, there's no way in your right frame of mind you want to slaughter an individual, take some parts of the individual's body. So it could actually expose some persons to other mental conditions.
Okay, thank you very much, Juliet. And let's come to Okpeyemi here. Since we're talking about solutions now, if we take a look at what's been happening lately, Okpeyemi, a lot of young people are on the social media. And the social media seems to be like an influence. Now, you see a lot of young ladies, a lot of young men on Instagram, on Twitter, and what have you. And you see trending stories. Every day there's one trending story. Either someone is spending some money somewhere, or they are giving someone 300 cows to bury the mom, and all those kind of stories. What do you think that do you think can be done, especially around the influence of social media on young people? Because they say now, believing social media is at your own risk.
For me, I think we need to emphasize process. For a young person like me, having to struggle with making ends meet, running your whole business, or battling with unemployment, all those things, it can
mess up
one psyche.
That you are not good enough, or you are not doing well.
Then you have people say,
can cause mental imbalance.
In a year, I started this business and I made 50 million naira. I'm just 25 and I've built house and I've done this. My father mentioned something about a man who gifted the father a car. And the father said, I worked for 25 years, 35 years to get the structure that you were seeing. And just in a year, you bought me a car.
How did you make it?
How did you make it? So the thing is that people want to live with the glamour, but they don't want to. When you tell them it's a process, you have to be committed to this process. Yes, things may be tough, but it will get well very soon. So we have to begin to talk more about having young people see that there are processes to this.
Now, the excuse that young people give.
Yes.
Because I speak to a lot of young people almost on a daily basis. I'm always surrounded by them. And they're telling me, I don't have a job. I don't do this one. I need to survive. Those excuses, are they big enough excuses to engage in killings for ritual or whatever form of vice, either Yahoo or Yahoo Plus or fraud, or even taking drugs, because that's another crisis.
Entirely.
Just like Juliet said, you cannot do this thing under a normal influence. We've also seen in social media or seen across the road, you just see young men in daylight just being naked and taking their bath, and everybody is passing, and everything is normal. What can be done?
That when we're talking about solution, as I said, we have to do with the root and structural imbalances. I've always said that inequality is one of the things that breeds all these other things. So when we were talking about ritual killings, it's like it's on the rise, just like any other criminal activities, just like robbery, prostitution, or different things that you can think of. These things are just on the rise, but it's not enough reasons for young people to venture into these things. We have to know that there's still reward for hard work.
That's so can we deploy the social media towards countering this belief, these narratives? And how do you think we can do that?
Before deploying the social media to counter this narrative, I will think that the government should also do their own part. When we have unemployment, when we have reduced, when we have poverty eradication, when we have employment opportunities, when we have young people being taken off the street, then we will render these ritual killings less appealing for people who want to work hard and earn decently.
Okay, but with the way the society is now, with the way the society is covered with a lot of these vices,
yes,
do you think that even when unemployment goes down or when perhaps